Hey, what's up, YouTube and Facebook? So yesterday, I did my very first video about gaming, even though I've been playing games for a very long time. If you were one of the lucky 57 people or so to watch it, some of which were my friends, I want to thank them for doing that. It was my unboxing of the Modern Warfare 2019 Modern Warfare night vision goggles. They call it the Dark Edition. I am going to do a video where I demonstrate the night vision goggles. However, I was up till about 5 a.m. this morning and got home, showered and everything, and decided to do a review, a spoiler-free review of the single-player campaign. Now, I am going to do a spoiler review. I'm going to do a separate video. Yesterday's video, which was about Modern Warfare's unboxing, I also told you a little bit of my history with the game and how that game made me a gamer. I was also very aware after posting my first video that I kept looking at myself. I kept doing this, like I'm looking at off camera, but really I need to look right here, look right at you. And as a business person, eye contact is important. So I'm going to try my best to keep focused right here. So this is my spoiler-free review. There's a lot I want to say. I'm not going to say it until I get into the analysis video, which I will record after this, but I'll put it in a separate video. That analysis video is for die-hard fans. If you, one, have finished the campaign, number two, you've played the original trilogy. I'm talking about Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3 from 2007 to 2011. You've played those campaigns. You've played them well. You know them. That when I do name drops like Wallcroft, Griffin, Gaz, Griggs, Shepard, Makarov, Zakhaev, Bashar al-Assad, or sorry, Khaled al-Assad. Bashar al-Assad is the current leader of Syria. You'll know what I'm talking about. So let me get right into this spoiler-free review. Please give me your feedback after the video's done. Like, subscribe, share, whatever. Subsquare, new word for like and share. This is the best Call of Duty game since Black Ops 2. And again, this is a review only for the campaign. I have enjoyed some of the campaigns since. I've enjoyed Infinite Warfare. Again, in my last video, it wasn't a good Call of Duty campaign. It was a good campaign, just not a good Call of Duty campaign. You know, when you see a Star Wars movie, you don't want to see a Marvel movie, and vice versa. That's what it felt like. I was playing Call of Duty, but somehow it felt like Battlefront. But this is the best campaign since the original Modern Warfare trilogy and since the second Black Ops. This is not your daddy's Modern Warfare. Let me go right off the bat and say this is not the same in terms of style, in terms of pizzazz, in terms of flash and spectacle. This is not the same game of the original Modern Warfare trilogy, and that is okay. It's, of course, a linear story. It is sort of, it's very based on what's going on today. So if the original Modern Warfare 1, Call of Duty 4, was a sort of a reinterpretation of the Iraq War and the U.S. getting into hotspots in the Middle East and being unable to extricate themselves and it leading to bigger and more disasters as we saw in Modern Warfare 2 and 3, this very much is about the U.S. or the West proclivity to help freedom fighters in other countries and the politics of doing that. The main character in this game, for me at least, was this new character named Farah. Farah is the leader of a freedom fighting coalition in a country called Urzikstan. So unlike the previous Modern Warfare games where they never said what Middle Eastern country it was, with the exception of Afghanistan, it's called a fictional country called Urzikstan or Urzikstan, and they're speaking Arab, so it's got to be an Arab country. She is without doubt the most interesting character in this game. I've been listening to other critics' reviews, professional critics, and they're saying, oh, you know, they should have done more with her. I mean, this is her story. And some people were saying it would have been nice to play as her a little bit more, and you do sort of play as her. Again, I'm going to get into spoilers later. But she is without doubt the most interesting Call of Duty character we've seen in a very long time. This is a much more current game, whereas the conflicts are localized. So you cannot play this game and not think of the word Syria across your mind. This is about the Syrian conflict that's happening right now. And in a weird way, the game is predicting, even though it was written and completed months ago, what is actually happening in Syria right now. This is very much about America and Russia, or rather the West. They keep saying the West because you're also playing as the SAS, but the commanders are American. Captain John Price is under the command of an American, under American commanders somewhere in the Middle East. The story is pretty straightforward. You have three major characters or entities in this game. You have the United States and Britain sort of amalgamated as just the West. You have the Russians, who are fighting a terrorist organization, which sounds like Al-Qaeda, but it's not Al-Qaeda. It's like Al-Qatar or something. Something very similar to Al-Qaeda. It's a hybrid of the Al-Qaeda, the Mujahideen, and ISIS. The Russians are in Uzbekistan trying to crush this terrorist organization. Farah is a freedom fighter trying to fight this terrorist organization. But as far as the Russians are concerned, the terrorist organization, the freedom fighters, they're one and the same. So dropped into this are the two people you play as. Garrick, who is an SAS soldier, and the American guy, I forgot his name, the CIA guy. He reminds me of Troy Baker. These are the two guys you play as. The CIA guy, a little bit of tension between him and Farah. I don't know if anyone else picks up on this. He's trying to help her track down a shipment of chemical weapons. Whether it's nerve gas or what kind of gas, we just know it's bad. And in the opening of the game, and this has been talked about, we saw the people at IGN crying about it, there's an attack in London which pulls in Western forces to work with Farah to stop both the Russians and this terrorist organization. This is a very dark game. This is not the Modern Warfare you played. This is not a Michael Bay movie. This is Zero Dark 30. This is Homeland. This is Jack Ryan, if you've seen that. And ironically, I'm about to contradict myself, it's 13 hours. It is very much 13 hours, which was made by Michael Bay, but if you know what I mean, this game is very localized. There are no big army versus army moments in here. This is not what this is about. And what I mean by army versus army, I'm talking about Call of Duty 4, the United States and Russia and Britain fighting Khaled al-Assad and the ultranationalists. You know, they have helicopters, we have helicopters. They have tanks, we have tanks. That sort of like World War III thing that we eventually see in Modern Warfare 2 or 3. This is about fighting insurgents, militias, and ultra-nationalists. So the Russians you're fighting in this game are not necessarily the entire Russian government. You're fighting factions within Russia. Now, in terms of gameplay, this is not your daddy's Call of Duty. This is not the fast-paced jump, 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 point and kill type of action you were used to in Modern Warfare. I learned that in the first few minutes when I got killed 4 times. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? This is a very deliberately paced game. It is a slow-paced game, and it works. This is slow-paced, and it works the same way Red Dead Redemption 2 was slow-paced, and it worked. When you play Red Dead Redemption 2, and you want to collect something out of the drawer, the character manually goes, opens the drawer, takes out the thing, looks at it, then puts it in his pocket. It's not like, you know, The Last of Us where Joel grabs things, he just kind of moves his arms like this, and he's magically collected them. It's a very tactical game, very Tom Clancy, very Splinter Cell, and it is without a doubt the grittiest game. It is a very ugly game, and when I say ugly, I'm talking about its content, and I mean that in a positive way. This shows us the horrors of war in a way the previous Modern Warfares didn't. Yes, there were controversial moments in Modern Warfare, but I feel like there's a lesson to them now. This is a dark game. It is an incredibly dark game. My spoiler review, I'm going to go through it mission by mission, character by character, and I'm going to go through the analysis and why they called it a soft reboot. This is... In 2019, I wasn't expecting Call of Duty to make a game that reinvigorates the video game franchise. Is it going to have the impact that Red Dead 2 did? No. But is this the best shooter game out right now in terms of single player? Absolutely. And I was not expecting that from Call of Duty. I know they've been making this game for many years. You can tell that Infinity Ward, the new Infinity Ward, has been listening to every criticism leveled against the past Call of Duty games and learned from them. This is a dark game. It takes you to some dark places. The ugliness of war. I'm going to get into that in the spoiler review. I've seen some critics say they don't like it, or that the game asks questions but does not answer those questions. And I feel like the critics are trying to say, give us your opinion on how this should have gone. And really the game is saying there is no right or wrong answer. You see this in the trailers. Price says the line is wherever you need to draw it. That's where the line is. And it's up to you as a gamer, or as a viewer, or as a critic, to say, is this right or wrong? Because the good guys do some pretty bad things in this. And the truth is, if they hadn't, the situation gets worse. People often throw the phrase around, the ends justify the means. This game really asks you that question. Do they justify the means? Now, when the game ends, maybe it feels like a cop-out the way it ends. Not that it ends on a cliffhanger or anything. It is a complete single-player story. But things work out because very nasty decisions were made in this game. Tough decisions that were not made in the previous Call of Duties. I feel like in Modern Warfare 2, the No Russian mission, the very fact that character you're playing as, Joseph Allen, gets killed in that same mission sort of takes away the punch of it. Like if Joseph Allen had survived the airport massacre that he was a part of and then continued to have been a character, there's no Russian moment, but there's a lot of moments where civilian casualties is a huge issue. And it's not a guy gets shot and just falls. You see them crying. You hear their breath. There's so many moments where I was playing the game, like, oh, bad guy, and all of a sudden you see it's a woman screaming with her baby. And for people, that's too much. Well, I'm sorry, but that's what happens in war. This is what my dad told me when I played Modern Warfare. He's like, you have no idea what a machine gun does to a body. He says you have no idea what war is like. My father served in a war. He was a POW. He was tortured, beaten. A lot of what he has been telling me is what this game shows. This is a phenomenal game. It's an excellent game. But I would not call it a fun game in the sense that the other Modern Warfare games were. And when I say it's not fun, that's not a bad thing. In the same way, The Last of Us is not a fun game. Last of Us is one of the greatest games of all time. And I can't wait for The Last of Us 2. But it is not a fun game. Red Dead Redemption 2 has aspects that make it fun. Grand Theft Auto is a fun game. Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3 are fun games. But in terms of the story, it's very localized. It is very localized. This is not a big conflict. It was very small scale, but it felt way more intense than any of the large-scale events in the previous Modern Warfare games felt. With Modern Warfare 1, they have what I call the holy shit moments. The first one in Modern Warfare 1, Call of Duty 4, sorry, I'd rather say, was, the nuke going off. Then Modern Warfare 2 was like, we need that moment every mission. And Modern Warfare 2, it was seeing, the United States getting attacked. It was seeing the White House on fire. It was seeing the Pentagon on fire. It was seeing, Russians assaulting the Washington Monument and you being helpless to do anything about it. It was about Captain Price launching a nuke and stopping the Russian invasion. And Modern Warfare 3 took it to another level. It's seeing Manhattan flamed. And if you're an American and you remember 9/11, in fact, that's the poster I got right there, you remember what that was like, seeing buildings crumble in New York. It was seeing Germany, Berlin being torn apart. It was seeing the Eiffel Tower. Holy shit moment, holy shit moment, holy shit moment. It was just after that. This game doesn't have those. It has shocking moments. It has a lot of dramatic moments. But in terms of those big, large set pieces, compared to Modern Warfare 1, it does not have that. and it doesn't need it. But the sequel will. And yes, this game is getting a sequel. I'm telling you right now, I said last night in the video that we haven't gotten any sequels to any new next generation titles. People said Black Ops. Well, Black Ops started last gen. And Black Ops 3 and 4 are just taking advantage of the title. This game had care. This is the first game that didn't feel like a Madden or a 2K ripoff. Like, oh, let's put another character in. This game had care. It asked questions. And while other people are upset they didn't answer those questions, it wasn't supposed to. What people really want is for you to verify their personal political stance. So if war is bad, I mean, war is bad, but like, you know, if you have a very anti-Western approach to foreign policy, you wanted them to say, wow, we did all this, we saved the day, but we did so many bad things. They don't do that. Nor do they do the other, like, America, fuck yeah, type of attitude. It doesn't. It shows you the ugly side of war. It shows you a side of war that most video games have not shown. And in the same way, you could say, well, you know, Black Ops showed a very gritty side. That was gritty, but this one touches you at points. You are in some horrible situations. Some people, and I think it was Game Informer or Games Radar, were just saying, maybe they were showing the Russians were too aggressive and yada, yada, yada. My dad has fought Russians in the early 80s. There's a lot of horror stories about Russians do. I mean, war is already pretty bad, but what Russians have done in the past and continue to do, it is very, very, very ugly. And in any war, it gets ugly. And if you've seen the footage from Syria or seen the footage anywhere in the Middle East where there's conflict, this felt like you were there. I at no point, I mean, sure, the weapons felt overpowered. And I'm sorry if this is not like most reviews where I talk about, you know, how the gun mechanics are. It's Call of Duty. You know it's going to be fun. The gunplay is fun. The action is fun, but it is intense. You ever remember going to a Modern Warfare mission and you would have like 700 rounds for your M4A1? No. You will only have 2 or 3 clips. And once you're out, you're out. There's no like ammo truck where you just go and pick up your ammo. This game made me count my weapons. There were many times, 5 or 6 times through the course of the campaign where I just ran out of ammo and there was no ammo around. I had to go find a guy, kill him, take his AK. There's a lot of moments in this game where there are name drops, character name drops, and I'm going to get into that in the spoiler review. It's more going to be a review. It's going to be analysis. Buy this game. This is the best Call of Duty single-player experience since Black Ops 2. I still think the villains, which I'll get into, weren't that great. In that respect, Advanced Warfare had a really good villain in Kevin Spacey, because, well, he's Kevin Spacey, and now the fact that he actually turned out to be a real villain kind of makes it even more, makes the character even seem more larger than life or more real. But yeah, they have a villain problem in this game. They tried to go the route where, like, this is our villain, but it's actually this guy. But it's actually this guy. And, oh, here's someone else. And I feel like they were trying to go with the whole thing in Modern Warfare 1 where, you know, the villain is Bashar al-Assad. I keep saying Bashar al-Assad, but that's the leader of Syria. Khaled al-Assad. He's the Saddam Hussein-looking guy that, you know, runs the Unspecified-istan. But he's not the real villain. It's actually Imran Zakhaev. And in Modern Warfare 2, it was Makarov, but actually Shepard, but then Makarov again. I feel like they were trying to do that, and they had these moments where the villains give these, like, you know, Rutger Hauer, Blade Runner type of speeches, and you're just kind of waiting for them to, like, have that, like, moment. And I feel like everyone's been trying to do that in video games. They always have characters, you know, have, like, that moment where, like, they give a monologue, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Thanos did it, it worked. Steppenwolf did it, it didn't work. But I'm going to get into that. This is a 20-minute review. Sorry, got to keep looking here. Buy this game. It is a phenomenal game. The single player alone, in my opinion, is worth it. I'm not going to talk about the multiplayer because you already played the beta, and if you like the beta, you will like the multiplayer. If you'd like me to do a more in-depth review on the multiplayer, I know they have a battle pass, but they're not doing microtransactions and loot boxes, and welcome to 2019, folks, where Fallout has microtransactions and Call of Duty doesn't. But it shows me, whether it's Activision decisions or Infinity Ward decisions, that they are listening to the fans. For years, every year, last couple of years, this will be the Call of Duty that'll change things. This one has. It did it with its campaign alone. They didn't back off. This is a brutal game. And any critic out there who says it was too brutal, it was not brutal enough, or it didn't ask the right questions. That's something you hear a lot today about movies, TV shows, or even stand-up specials. Did they ask the right questions? Or why didn't they? No, this game is showing you right what it feels like. This is not a fun game. Like I said, in the same way The Last of Us is not a fun game. The single player. It's not like, oh, I'm going to have fun. No. This was a very intense, very dramatic, very gritty, tough game. Every character is kind of developed, but I think what they did in this game, the two characters you play as, and I just finished the campaign, and I can't remember the name of the American. That's the guy who looks like Troy Baker, mixed with like a skinny Chris Hemsworth. He's the CIA guy. This is not his story. This is Farah's story. In the same way that Terminator 1 and 2 are Linda Hamilton's story, but they're really about John Connor. This is her story. Captain Price, well done. When I first saw that trailer and I heard that it was not Billy Murray voiced Captain Price in the Modern Warfare trilogy. He's a British actor, not to be confused with Bill Murray from Ghostbusters and Saturday Night Live fame. Barry Salone is Captain Price. He nails it. This is not a reinterpretation of the character. This is the same guy. And the mannerisms, the way his voice is. I am someone who's played Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3, the campaigns, from beginning to end at least 15 times each. No lie. That's not exaggeration. And there are certain missions that I go back and I replay. Every year I replay Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3 around the Thanksgiving, Christmas holiday. This game sold me. As big of a disappointment Black Ops 4 was, this made up for it. This really made up for it. It made up for it so much that I'm actually sitting down and giving you my opinions. Buy this game. It is a phenomenal game. If you're short on cash, maybe wait till Black Friday when they'll probably do something. But it is a hell of a game. The multiplayer is fun. I'll do another review on that. If you guys want a multiplayer review, let me know. But honestly, if you played the beta, you have a taste for what the multiplayer is. You know what you're getting. I'm going to end this video right now. I want to thank you. Give me feedback. Be as critical as you need to be. I have thick skin, kind of. I mean, I cry afterwards. But give me your thoughts, feedback. I'm going to do the analysis. I'm going to do a deep dive. And give me your feedback on that. If you like this video, if you like the original Modern Warfare trilogy, and you want to see how this connects to the new one, the new trilogy, and I think this is setting up a new story. I mean, it is setting up a new story. I mean, previous Call of Duties that came out, Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, were all setting up stories, but they didn't go anywhere because these were characters we didn't care about. But this is the beginning of something new. And this is, again, it's not a rehash of the first Modern Warfare. But I do get why they called it a soft reboot. And I'm going to explain that to you in the analysis and discussion part of the video. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give me a comment if you'd like to see more videos. I'm a huge video game person. And I don't really talk so much about the mechanics of games because that's not who I am. I talk about the story, the history, the politics, and yeah, I'll talk about gameplay. But this is Call of Duty. It's a much more slower paced version of Call of Duty, but it is wonderful. Thank you and enjoy the video.